Welcome to MSP Unplugged. I'm your host, Paco Lebron. This is the place to learn how to run your MSP, whether you are a nimble MSP or leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. Let me go ahead and introduce my co-host, my partner in crime. We have none other than Corey Kirkendoll over at 5K Technical Services. Corey, how are you, my friend?
Paco, man, I'm doing well, man. Out here in the big D, ENVER at Pax8 Beyond, man. And I think everybody know we got somebody in the middle right here. Go talk it up. Go talk it up.
I'm like trapped here, so I don't have a choice.
He has no choice. But this gentleman next to me, I consider a great friend. Those have dubbed him the godfather of the channel. His official title is the corporate VP of community ecosystems and now partner experiences. Did I get that correct?
You did.
Perfect. Mr. Rob Rae. Rob, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. I think we should throw more corporate marketing terms onto that job title there. It sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is that in the press briefing, one of my questions, I was like, I'm just going to keep this official, was like, did they give you a raise for that additional title that they put in there?
That's right.
The man is everywhere, people. So in case Pax8 is listening, you know where that comes from.
That's exactly right.
But, for those that are tuning in who may not know you,
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your journey and how you kind of came into the space and ended up in Pax8?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely and utterly accidentally. No, and it's a little bit by design. But I got my first job in IT at Compact Computers. Remember Compact? Are you old enough to remember Compact? I know you're old enough to remember Compact.
Yeah,
Before the merger with HP.
Yeah, so I was there actually when HP acquired Compact. And at that particular point, actually, I was dealing with, because you remember back in those days, it was all about hardware. It was all about hardware margins.
Yep.
And hardware margins were starting to erode.
Yep.
And obviously, back then, resellers, this is before the MSPs, were losing money. And then you had other organizations, hardware organizations, that started selling directly to end users, bypassing the channel completely. And then, that kind of forced a lot of it, because like Compact was a channel-only company. HP, I think it was a channel-only company. And then all of a sudden, we're being forced to sell direct to end users because we couldn't compete with other hardware vendors that were doing the same thing. So this is completely destroying the reseller model. Resellers, of course, you need to continue to make money. You got to figure that out, how you're going to continue to stay in business. Started charging for the services. So I noticed this transition, because all my reseller customers at that particular time were now all of a sudden saying, I'm going to start focusing on the services part. And I'm like, okay, this is obviously a new wave, a new business model. It's going to be real. How do I take advantage of that? And I started looking around and realizing that there was this new technology called RMM. Remote monitoring management. So this RMM technology was now all of a sudden all MSPs are buying RMM to provide remote support, monitor. I don't need to explain RMM, but and I thought, this is kind of, maybe if I'm going to make any decent money in my life, maybe I need to try something new, join a small business. And I found Level Platforms, and Dan Wensley took a chance on me, and I joined there as head of sales, and started working with and developing MSPs. But we were so early in that journey that we had to teach resellers to become MSPs.
Yep.
So it was the conversation about recurring revenue and contracts and all those types of things rather than the one-time hardware. So basically, in the very early days of this transition, I had the opportunity to work for a company that was providing the education on how to become an MSP. So I've been here basically since the start. And we can argue all day long about who invented the term managed services. I don't know if you guys have an opinion, but fast forward, we sold that business to AVG Technologies, and I took that opportunity to exit. I'd met a young man by the name of Austin McCord, who had a great idea around a backup solution. He didn't like coming out to trade shows, and he wanted to stay home and instead engineer the product, work with partners on tech support, those kinds of things. So he hired me to come in and basically run with that community. We sold Datto in a couple different times, 2017 to private equity, 2020 we went public, 2022 we sold it privately and had a successful exit of $6.2 billion from this little startup backup company out of Connecticut. Then I took that opportunity to go and try something new, and I found Pax8. Funny journey with Pax8. Like Pax8 comes to me, and obviously very well known at this particular point, have a great community at this point. They said to me, hey, we would love you, because I've talked to Nick Hetty and Ryan Walsh, and John Street's a freaking legend in our space. Yeah. And I'm like, why wouldn't you want to go work for this company? And then I'm like, guys, I love you guys. I love what you're doing. Community loves you, but you're a distributor. You're a disty. You don't own any technology. You're just selling other people's stuff. And I don't want to do that. Level, we had the engineering. We could change it. Data, if we found a bug, we could fix it. I can't fix other people's bugs if all I'm doing is just reselling other people's stuff. And they said, ooh, watch this. And they showed me this marketplace journey that they're on, the transformation away from distribution. They showed me what you guys have seen here at this event with the AI and where we can actually drive. They showed me the Academy team, the Rex Frank former C-level operations that they've done, and how we're going to invest in the MSP community and how they're going to remain completely loyal to MSPs. And that is how I am here today.
That's awesome. I remember when you were in between once you had the exit, and then everyone was kind of making the guesses of where you were going, and they threw around Pax8 multiple times, and I heard that there wasn't even a conversation about you joining them at the time when everyone had these theories. So when the news broke, everyone was saying, "Oh yeah, we kind of all knew this." But then I think it was Nick Eddy had said, like, funny enough, it probably was stemmed from that we thought of, but I'm sure there were conversations from before. But it was just funny on how everyone kind of just felt that this was the natural place for you to be, in the way your capacity and what you've done to kind of lead the channel in that realm. But talking a little bit about Pax8, what do you consider probably the most exciting thing for you, not only just here at Beyond, but for Pax8?
You know, the most exciting thing, so I actually learned this a long time ago working for Austin, of all people. Not that he didn't teach me a lot, he taught me a lot, but Austin, I've got about 20 years on him. And it's tough, to go and work for somebody that is that significantly younger than you, completely generational change. But he was the idea guy, he was the engineer and whatnot. And I remember when I joined Datto, we were still in kind of the infancy stage and trying to figure out, how routes to market, what should we do, how do we captivate this MSP market? And, I default back to my playbook, which is the old traditional things that you do. You have a hardware product, you go to distribution, they do the pick, pack, ship, it goes out to the end user, you make some money, and that's kind of the playbook that I ran. And Austin said, why? Or come up with something else. I don't want to do it that way. Let's come up with something new. Let's be innovative. Let's be creative. And for me, it was a moment where it's incredibly frustrating because you have this way in which you want, that you've done things always. And he forced me to think outside the box. He forced me to be an agent of change. He forced me to be creative. And I think, as time has gone on, especially in our space, that what has made me successful is the fact that I'm constantly challenging the traditional ways in which things are done. Yeah. Pax8 is doing exactly the same thing. I mean, they're rooted in that. They changed distribution by focusing exclusively on SaaS and exclusively on managed services. We're going to change the game again with AI and the agentic model that we're talking about here, managed intelligence. This is game-changing stuff. It's the future of everything that we're going to be doing. It's like, imagine, and this goes back to, I'll reference Jay McBain's keynote there, where he says, imagine you could talk to Bill Gates in 1981. Or 1981. Yeah. Imagine you could talk to Azure or AWS in 2002 when the cloud first came out. This is that moment, and I believe that we are innovating that and pushing that agenda, and I think that we are at that point, and we want to be the ones that are at the start of that journey.
Man, when I look at this, I always see it as I listen to your journey. Except for the HP Compact situation, man, but level platforms, MSPU, Datto, everywhere you've been, you've disrupted it, right? And you're known as that disruptor, man. Yeah. Very, very easy for Rob to be like, hey, I've done this before. I've been here before. Yeah. What I like, man, is the humbleness and the new vigor that you came at it with, man. It's like, this is the next thing since sliced bread, man, and you just change it and drive it on his head, man. And I love the way you do that. And when you talk about community for you, it's just not a word, right? You live and breathe it. Now, I'm surprised you ain't got a tattoo on your back or something. Put it on there. But that's how it works. But
well, how do you know I don't?
Hey, I don't know. I don't know. Hey, maybe that's the question. Does he have a tattoo on his back? I don't know.
I'll let you give me a back rub later. You can find it.
That's what's up. No, man, I love what's up with the with how you're doing and how it comes from a Pax8 perspective, man. I love the vision that you're coming with, man. Now that you're here at a distributor,
marketplace.
At a marketplace, has it been anything less than what you thought it was going to be?
Oh no, quite the opposite.
Okay,
quite the opposite. So, So they showed me this marketplace piece and where it can all go, and the whole idea that we don't want to be just selling other people's stuff. We want to be an innovator. We want to be a technology innovator. Scott Chasen at the time had recently joined Pax8. He's the chief technical officer at the time.
Yeah.
And he shows me his vision. He himself, he wants to create. He wants to innovate. He wants to find new things. So that for me was kind of that inspiring moment that it kind of goes along with what you're talking about. Is kind of my journey is to kind of trying to find what's next, because if we all stand still in what we're doing, I mean that's where you're going to be.
Yeah.
Right. If you constantly look for that kind of what's next, I mean, that's the only way we're ever going to have more and more opportunity and make more and more money.
Yeah.
Right. So that for me was like when Scott became CEO and this whole agentic thing, like none of my expectations, all of my expectations have been overwhelmed, because now I got to figure out how I take this like 30-page like thesis and turn it into a 20-minute presentation at your event, right? So, and then be able to explain it, multiply it, and get the MSP buy-in on it, and then move that agenda forward. But I genuinely do believe that managed intelligence is going to be part of every MSP stack. We're going to talk about managed intelligence like we talk about cybersecurity today. No, I mean I'm too. There's too many new things that are coming down that I can't think of anything that would say that something's moving too slow. It's just not the Pax8 way.
No doubt. So one of the challenges that MSPs had, you've probably seen it over time, and is we get stuck. In a spot, right?
Yeah.
And when we look at the different marketplace, the vendors who are out there, we look at them as far as what I can sell, what I can do, but we're always late to jump on the wagon.
Yeah.
What can our listeners, the MSPs out there, learn from how Pax8 is doing it? To make themselves better?
Well, I think there's a couple reasons why those behaviors have been here.
Okay.
I would suggest that when it comes to technology and technology developers, people that are creating the technology of tomorrow, they tend to go to the enterprise place spots first, right? Because there's bigger money there. I want to sell this directly to this company and make more money doing it. And then eventually, once they get comfortable with that, if they ever want to get into the SMB realm, then they come to the MSP market. The other factor of that is like, or if it's a technology startup that designs it for the managed services space, historically, they have a little bit of success, then they get gobbled up by some larger tech company who takes them up market because of that. So we've kind of been living below the poverty line of technology innovation in the SMB space. We just kind of have to take the table scraps of everything that's left over. And do as much as we possibly can with these SMB customers. That's changed. And there's a couple different reasons why that's changed. I think the pandemic significantly changed that, because now all of a sudden we have global enterprise publicly traded companies like CrowdStrike, who is here at this event trying to get MSPs to buy their services. SentinelOne is another great example of that. They didn't need to come to the SMB space. They're making tons of money. They want to, and they have to do it through MSPs because that's who owns the relationship. So I don't think, I think we're, moving closer to that. I think we're over the poverty line, I would suggest. But then the other part of this too, so more SMB end user customers are coming out than ever before. The pandemic changed the way in which people lost their jobs, they started businesses. And it's easier to do that than ever before. So there are more small, medium businesses coming in. I think the other part of it too is there's a lot more younger people coming into this space as well. And as a result, they're a little more forward thinking on these different technologies and a little more open-minded for it, and embracing it a little bit faster than we traditionally have. And, I think that's kind of where our journey and these things, AI, it could be the ultimate SMB solution that eventually will make it to mid-market, because there's so many things. Like if you, and Scott talks about this in his keynote, there could be like $1 billion company that is a one-man shop. Right? Because you could use technology. It could get to that point where you're using technology everywhere in order to, grow your company. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. The other part of this too is that the technology innovation that's happening on the AI side, a lot of it is being done by developers who haven't brought it to market. Our goal is to go and find these companies and bring them into the MSP market. Bring these great technologies to MSPs so that MSPs have a distinct advantage and a leadership part. And then what we'll see is not only will we sell into the small market, we'll start getting into the mid-market. We'll even be able to offer potential AI-rounded services to even large markets. So, I mean, I'm very bullish on all of these things. So.
No, that makes sense. I mean, I always be back when we started, back in the day, when you were at the hotel outside of DFW Airport with the crew, right? That was what level platforms came in.
Yeah.
It was always that challenges that the larger company didn't look down upon us, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, but then they figured out that there's gold in them hills. They value one thing that we have, I think, is the relationship that they could never have because they were on to the next one.
Yeah.
Is I think now the MSPs are now seeing their value there, and now they're able to leverage, and now you got it right. We know what this AI thing, the larger companies are struggling to put it in place because it's so expensive and they want to go big. I think it's now the smaller companies are more agile to go and get into it, which is going from the bottom up versus the top down.
Absolutely.
And I love it.
Absolutely. I belong to a peer group of executives in the, they're not in the MSP space, they're in the technology space. Think of all the corporate multi-billion-dollar publicly traded IT companies.
Yeah.
Like their person for their community was, or marketing was in this peer group. So I was extremely blessed to be in this group because I was learning a lot from them. But I was the only one that came in with MSP experience. Nobody else in the room had MSP experience, which is how I got invited into this peer group.
Yeah.
So here's the cool part. The cool part is that, I'm part of this group for a couple of years. They invited me in because everybody's talking about this MSP thing and nobody understands it. And then they start coming to me at these meetings going, we have to find something because we're calling our end user customers. Even now, in the mid-market, they're finding MSPs there. Yeah. And what's happening is they're trying to sell direct to these companies, and these companies are like, don't talk to me, talk to my MSP. And they come to you and go, hey, I want to sell this to this customer. And you're like, oh, hell no, I've already got a solution. Or you don't have a partner program, or I don't want to do business with you. So they have to figure out a way to work with SMB. Again, I'll use CrowdStrike as an example. They want to be in this space. They want to work with MSPs, and they need to find a way to do it. And that's why they're investing in things like this in this community right now.
I like it. That's good.
The reason we exist is because you cannot stay ahead of all threats. It's impossible to detect every threat out there before it becomes an issue. So what we do is we block by default. And when you block everything by default, it really doesn't matter if it's known to be bad. If it's not on the list, it cannot run in your environment. And that is our core focus. Zero trust principles, block first, limit what applications can do. And the other stuff, yes, we chase the threats, we hunt the threats, we do everything else, but that's the backup. The core of ThreatLocker is zero trust. The team is the real part of it. Cyber heroes, we call them, and they range from everyone from the marketing department right through 24-hour, 365-day-a-year support to our clients, which is less than 30-second response time. We've got some of the most advanced threat intelligence team, advanced development teams in the world, and we're constantly hiring and growing that team. And that's what allows us to deliver the best service.
Now, we talked a little bit about, a lot over the past couple of days in regards to change.
Yes.
And, the new term of managed intelligence provider. Mm-hmm. Now that your new additional role of partner experience, mm-hmm. how have you viewed the ability of, because, the one thing the MSPs tend to hate is change.
Yes.
It's
a human thing.
A human thing. And they're very vocal without truly, they tend to yell first and then try to understand later, in my experience.
That's fair.
And I've always felt that, no matter where you were in what company, it seemed like you were always the go-to guy for experience of a partner.
Yes.
Now that you've officially have this title, mm-hmm. Addition to your title, with everything that now Pax8 is diving into, there's going to be some probably hand-holding that needs to be done. The experience will change. Can you chime in a little bit more, or have you had to put any thought with this keynotes being released? How does that affect your decision or kind of your direction of kind of guiding them to where they should be going to in that direction for the future of the industry?
So I think there's this divide between what vendors are doing and what MSPs are doing. And we tend to think of MSPs as the innovators, and to be honest, they're not. It's the vendors that are innovating. The problem is the vendors are terrible at go-to-market and relationship building, which the MSPs are. So it's kind of like we have to work together on these things. So if you take a look at where this innovation is coming in, Like, you think about like in an MSP stack, the MSPs haven't innovated anything that's in their stack. They've innovated the service that's around their stack to be able to go and implement it. And of course, there are some custom services that MSPs are doing, but ultimately the technology stack is usually somebody else. For this journey with AI, I want to commoditize it in that way, rather than, and I keep running into MSPs that are trying to figure this out on their own. And it's probably only about 5% of the people. I just get back from Australia. I found one guy that is actually already on this AI journey. He's way ahead of everybody else, but he's also having problems trying to describe this to his end users because nobody else is talking about this. I just ran into a gentleman here, exactly the same thing. He's like, I was thinking this. I didn't know how to define this. I didn't know what I could do with this or what I'm missing, because you're kind of barreling down a path that nobody else has gone down before, or very few have gone down before. I want to carve that path. I want to make it so simple that the MSP can continue to focus on delivering that service, wrapping it all together, putting a face on it, developing a relationship with it, doing the innovation around other services to make money around it, but the technology is there. So for me, it's a combination of the training, the education. I think it's also finding these technologies and bringing them to the MSP market. So I think all of those things are going to build into that partner experience. Most importantly, and I think as us, and I think it's a traditional issue that we have in the managed services space, is we tend to think about how we make money after. We find cool stuff, and then we figure out how to make money with it typically after. How is anybody going to make money in AI?
Right.
And I think that's an important conversation. And, we are starting, again, like we're still very, very early in this journey, but we are opening the door to that conversation to say, right now, and Scott said in his keynote, we're finding 4 different potential revenue streams, or 4 different ways of generating revenue with this stuff. Is it going to be one, or is it going to be all 4? We don't know. But let's start this conversation. Let's get more people having this conversation so that when we go out and talk about managed intelligence to the end users, it's not a weird term. When we started talking about cybersecurity 10 years ago, ransomware, let's use ransomware. I remember 2016, I did a presentation. I saw something about ransomware, and I thought, this is cool. This is game changer for us, especially because I was in the continuity space.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did a presentation on ransomware, and everyone's like, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. That is not going to happen in our space. It's not going to happen to me. All the traditional things. We're too small. Nobody cares about us. And then all of a sudden, like a year later, it's the only thing anybody wants to talk about. Right? Yep. And that is, I think, some of the things that if we're all having this conversation, if we're all, talking to our end users about it, managed intelligence will become a common term, similar to cloud.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, from in that experience, and then, those that have joined Pax8 on this journey, they may have seen, well, let me actually rewind this. Every time you speak, you have this ability of being able to communicate. As you mentioned, you take whatever you've been given and have to translate it into a 20-minute conversation or a 20-minute presentation, whether it's a boardroom, whether it's in front of the stage, things of that nature. And so just most recently at Exchange, that presentation, although I don't remember exactly specifically what you said, all I recall was, man, Rob it makes me feel like I want to run through a brick wall and do what he wanted to do. And that's how, inspired from that. And the reason why I bring that up is because you're now, again, you've been dubbed the Godfather of the channel, and I know that's a term that you're uncomfortable with, but it's true of how people view as the value you've provided and an asset to all. Yeah. And I think now Pax8, I believe, has seen that, and now they're kind of filming this documentary highlighting your story and highlighting the channel. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about the strategy of what Pax8 is looking to do with that documentary? Yeah. Because sharing your story, although inspiring, I know there has to be a message behind it, because you normally are not very all about yourself. There has to be something behind it. And I'm curious as to what can listeners who have not either seen the documentary or are looking to understand more, what was kind of the idea behind it and what you were looking to get for maybe experience or just community as a whole? Sure.
So it's a docuseries called MSP Legends. Right now it's available on the YouTube channel, the Pax8 YouTube channel. Pax8, I was doing a tour with Nick Hetty, our president, and Scott Chasen, our CEO. We were doing a tour around Europe, and we ended up in a city, I can't remember which one, and they said, hey, can you get a partner to dinner together tonight? Right? And I'm like, sure. And I called 10 partners, and 6 of them were able to come out for dinner, and we had a phenomenal time. And then they kind of looked at me and said, how the hell did you do that? Because trying to pull that all together, speak of the devil, Austin McCord. How the hell did you do that? And it's all about these relationships that you build over the course of time and whatnot. What happens was Scott's very passionate about our studios team and kind of what it is that they do and how they do it. We're trying to capture as much as we can. We do a lot, obviously, the Microsoft stuff and all that type of stuff. But we have this phenomenal studios team, and he said, "I want to create a docuseries about you. I want to capture what it is that you just did there, or how we can go to these events and so many people and so many people know you. I want to know how that actually happened." And I said, "Absolutely not. I don't want anything like that about me." Because it's not about me, it's about our community. So I said, if you want to do this docuseries, you know what would be beneficial? Let's describe managed services to the common person. If you go to a party and somebody says, "What do you do for a living?" You don't say, "I'm a managed service provider." It's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. And to try to capture what it is that we do as a community, and it's a vital, critical part of every business that's out there. I do believe MSPs save small businesses every single day, yet it's probably the worst known thing about what we do. I'm like, let's capture that. Let's capture the essence of the community, because it's also a space where the collaboration is insane. It's absolutely insane. We talk to everybody. It could be an MSP within your same hometown that normally you would think was a competitor. You don't have time for any of that, because there's so much business out there that you can be and collaborate with each other. You see events like this, like competitive vendors that are here. Even think about Pax8, right? So we have 140 some odd vendors here. We have all of our marketplace vendors, but I have vendors that I'm not making any money off of that are here because it's the right thing for the community. This is what, and I know ConnectWise does the same thing. Like this is what in essence we're about. Let's go capture that. And if we can capture that, what we can do is we can attract people to this industry that we need. Really, really good people. We find a lot of people are coming down from enterprise jobs into the MSP space. We find that a lot of people, traditionally, if an MSP sold their business, they want to go get a job at a vendor. We're actually finding people that were working at vendors and now trying to get jobs at MSPs, right? And then on top of that, it's all this younger generation that's coming up. Like there was a CompTIA, now GTIA, did a report. I remember this about 10 years ago. I caught Todd Thibodeau like sitting in a moment of reflecting. We're sitting at a party and he's sitting in the corner just reflecting something. And I said, "What's on your mind?" He goes, "Do you know the average age of an MSP owner is 57 years old? And it's not getting younger, it's getting older. Does that mean this industry's dying? Does that mean this industry's going to go away? Like, are we aging out? Was this kind of this wave that we're riding and now we're all going to die, right? That's not happening, right? And we're seeing more youth, but how can we accelerate that? So this is an idea of like, there's a phenomenal community that is here that any kid coming out of school should want to be a part of, right? We've had a lot of conversations. I'm sure you guys have talked about diversity in this space, right? There's not, I mean, that's getting better. I find that's getting significantly better. Probably not as fast as it should, but I mean, these are like, that's what I want to capture is this is a beautiful, beautiful world that we live in. And we want more people in it. We want more creative people, more technology, that kind of thing. So
I got one last one for you, and then I'll toss it over to Corey for last words. Obviously, Pax8 Beyond being a center point for quite a lot of MSPs, vendors. This has been dubbed for us internally at ProdigyTeks as our annual retreat to be able to get together and understand what's going on between one of us, collaborating because we are in a modern workforce. We all are remote, but have the ability to be Microsoft-centric first, understand what's going on in the future. And it's been such a great turnout year after year, and there's a lot of planning, and there's a lot of time involved with all the staff and all the team kind of putting this together. Mm-hmm. Next year, now it moves. June 7th to the 9th. Mm-hmm. Why Salt Lake City?
Why Salt Lake City, Utah? All right. So the strategy around executing these events. First of all, Salt Lake, the venue that we have in Salt Lake is absolutely beautiful. We got the conference center that's right there. I look at a couple different aspects. Obviously the space is important. You got to make sure you have it. It's got to be nice. It's got to be in a city that's got a great airport. Salt Lake City is a hub for a lot. So it's an easy airport to get into. It's a beautiful city that most people don't travel to. There's not a ton of MSP events in Utah. And Jen, the organizer of our conference, lives there. So, add that in as an additional factor. However, I've seen the space, vetted the space. It's all great. Now, let's talk about the practicality of it. There are conferences in our space that we've been going to for 15, 20 years that are in the same hotel that they were 15 or 20 years ago.
Yes.
I can point out every stain on the carpet because it was there last year. I know the names of all the bartenders because I was there last year. I know the spot to get the drink the fastest at the best because I was there last year. And the problem is that we come to these things, and there's so many events that are out there. We come to these things, and if you're coming to the same hotel, to the same city, and you've seen the same touristy spots, and then you jump into this conference, and it's 2.5 days, and you know, main stage keynote, then breakouts, it feels the same. The content could be completely different, but it feels exactly the same. And what happens is MSPs that I found continue to say, you know what? I'm kind of not learning anything. It kind of feels the same. There's nowhere else to explore out here because I've been in Orlando 1,000,000 times already.
Yeah.
I'm not going to come this year.
Got it.
So for me, you know, and I did this back with the DattoCons, I moved it to a different city every single year. Nashville, Tennessee, right? The British partners that we actually had is like, I don't want to go to Nashville, Tennessee. Like, you've never been in Nashville, Tennessee. It's like, just, they have this impression that Nashville's this honky tonk, you know, like Southern US town. And it's like, I don't want to go there. And then they came for DattoCon, and now they vacation there because they fell in love with the actual city. It's like, it's adding to the experience of, sure, we come to these conferences to learn about tech, but have you guys not gone out and eaten at a new restaurant since you've been here? Have you not gone out and looked at Red Rock since you've been here? You know, it's a different experience. And if we can move that. Now, we will come back here.
Okay.
All right. So the agreement that I have with Nick, because Denver is the birthplace of Beyond, it's the birthplace of Pax8.
Sure.
The agreement I have with Nick is that we will bring it back to Denver every second year and then move it to a different city every other time. So Salt Lake City next year, but in 2027, we'll be back here at the Gaylord.
Sounds good.
I look at it, man, you know, no matter what city you're in, the content and the way you put this conference together and the thought and effort, it screams everything about you. I mean, from
Thank you.
It's educational, it's getting that camaraderie going, and we know the party's going to be off the chain, you know, we know how that's going to work out there, but no matter where it's going to be, it screams what Rob Rae wants to bring back to the community.
Absolutely.
And it teaches us from a perspective I love from the MSP side is that not to get comfortable. You keep us uncomfortable, but you force us to go out there and get outside of our comfort zones. Like going to Nashville or getting out to Salt Lake City, right? I'm like, really? No, we're not doing that. But you find out it's such an awesome place that you want to go back and want to go do other things. So not only are you helping that community, but you're also growing the community that you're going to go and touch and impact in a way that they don't even know that the MSPs came and did that, which is really cool. And, you know, to end it all up, man, and just on my last piece, man, is as I got a chance to watch the documentary and where it came from, and what was really big for me, man, is we talked about this in a interview we just did about family. And you know, there was some scenes in there with your family, your wife was in there, and doing some things like that. And what I love, man, she actually talked about, she learned from you on the MSP side how to do things in her business.
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So you know, Jill, right?
Jill.
It was awesome, man, just to see that come through. And she didn't really know what you did or how it did, but she brought back and said, hey, I'm going to step back. And it was nothing to do with technology. So how's that experience been, man? And how do you balance that? Because you're on the road all over the place, man. And it's coming back and spending that time. Where do you find that balance to sit back and something that you can share with our viewers and say, you got to take some time to recharge and do some things?
Yes, which is extremely difficult. Yeah. I'm actually on a leg right now. Trip where I was down, I was up in Niagara Falls at Channel Next in Canada. Went down to Orlando for a security event, came right to Denver here for this event. I'm going up to Montreal for an MSP event at the F1 race, and then right from Montreal to Dublin. So I'm on the road now for, 3 weeks? I talked to her last night. She's not happy. She's not happy at all, but she understands it. June is a very busy month. You guys know this. There's months that are busier than others. June and November are those 2 months. And, you know, I just kind of prep for that. I think the important part, Corey, is that, and it's the same thing for, I think, any business owner, you can spend 24 hours a day living in your business and you start forgetting about the things that are important. For me, I don't get a ton of time at home or a ton of time with her or even the kids. When I do, I make sure that time is incredibly rich and incredibly valuable. and that we have an opportunity to experience things. I also want her and the family to realize that the fruits of our labor, you know, I want to enjoy what it is that I've been able to accomplish, the money I've been able to make, those kinds of things, so that we can, you know, almost the reward, almost the payoff of that. So whether it's a simple vacation somewhere or a weekend getaway, like right now we're going to plan a weekend getaway to Savannah, Georgia. Why? I've never been there, but I have enough airline points and hotel points that I can do it relatively cheap. You know, like things like that. And that's I think where the rub comes in, is that you also have to take a moment to stop and enjoy life and enjoy the fruits of your success. Right? And I know that's hard for entrepreneurs. It's really hard. It's hard for people to come to a conference like this and stop working, because when you stop working, you stop making money. But, you know, I think that's it's an important part.
Sure.
Yeah.
Love it, man.
I think, you know, to get you out of here, because I know you got to rush off to somewhere else, it's truly inspiring to be able to, you know, I consider you as a friend, being able to help me in my young journey many years ago to try and figure out this space called the channel, and being able to see the documentary, to seeing on your priorities, what you just spoke about here always has resonated. And, you know, I hear you whenever we talk, I hear your words, but I hear the meanings behind it. Right? And you're very intent with how you say things. And so, one, appreciate you taking the time to come.
I appreciate the opportunity, for sure.
And for those that are just wanting to learn more about Pax8, maybe wanting to try and catch you because you're in all of so many places, what's the best way to keep up with Mr. Rob Rae?
Well, LinkedIn, obviously, I think is probably the easy place. Although I have to admit, I'm finding way too much spam on LinkedIn lately, so it's really hard to dig through those messages. I'm on Facebook, my Facebook profile. I mean, I do a lot more work than I do personal stuff on Facebook, but ultimately, if you want to get a hold of me, best way is email, rrae@pax8.com.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
So you guys are at the party tonight?
Yes.
We will be there.
The Beyond After Party?
Yeah.
Who do you guys think the musical guest is? What's the rumors?
You know, I've heard a few, but I don't want to spoil it for those that are in attendance and listening ahead of time, but I think it's going to be a great time.
Is this live?
It's not live.
So when is this going to play?
Probably in a couple of weeks. I guess.
Which means it's going to be over.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess it won't be anything but a G thing, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, with 2 G's on the end.
Yeah.
Would you be disappointed if it wasn't?
I would not.
Nah, would not.
Because Marv was recommending some a cappella band.
I heard. He was talking about
So
Morgan Wallen or
strange.
something.
So
and
strange.
I love how you said, like, you got to understand, there's a generational thing and the demographics to this thing. And so I agree with you 100%. And I do not doubt your music choices from all the years you've done this.
Exactly.
So I say continue to keep doing what you do.
Yeah,
Totally
keep pushing
fair.
the envelope, baby.
Well, I hope I don't let you down.
No, but awesome. No, it's going to be a great time here. I appreciate again for you coming out. But thank you for tuning in on our banter as we go on here. You can catch us on the video podcast, youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button. We also are on every podcatcher that you can find us at. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. But the easiest way to find your favorite podcatcher, head over to mspunplugged.com and you'll be able to find out more. From that, we will see you next time. And we appreciate you tuning in at MSP Unplugged.